right, welcome back to the Unreasonable Life podcast. Look, this is a show where we talk about building business, a life, and relationships that actually matter. This podcast is all about helping massage therapists, service providers, leaders, and high performers create success without losing connection, purpose, or the people who matter most. So we dive into business growth, hospitality, leadership, sales, mindset, relationships, and the kinds of conversations that help you create a life and a business that is beyond what most would consider reasonable. Our guest today is my friend Daniel with My Policy Plug. He is a successful business owner here in Las Vegas who has chosen to build a career in a very competitive industry, if I'm not mistaken, the insurance industry. Being a business owner himself, he also chooses to primarily serve business and business owners. Today, I hope to uncover lessons behind his success, how he stands out in a price-focused industry, how he may create exceptional experiences for his clients, builds lasting relationships, because if I am a client of his as well, and if I don't say so myself, relationships is one of his strong suits, and I'd love to dive into that. And just how he continues to grow in sales, in business, and his life. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'd like to start, since we're talking about insurance, I don't know that most people would be like, dude, I want to do an insurance business. What drove you to that as something you're going to do for business ownership?
Insanity, man. No. Honestly, I not to get too personal, but didn't really have a father figure. The guy that was my father figure was in insurance, and he was in bonding. So he did large construction projects and did bonds for those. And I think what appealed to me, not only in a situation where you're a single mom and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be loaded when I grow up. Like that was the initial thought. It's like, I'm gonna be like that guy. It was more so that
I don't ever want to feel this again.
I don't ever want to be the in this space again. But I think it was mostly just the fact that despite his success, like, he was able to still be the dad at the football games, and he was still able to have a relationship with his family. And, my only experience with success, was through other people that I knew who were in the corporate world and didn't have that. They were glued to a desk. And so I think seeing his autonomy and just able to basically come and go as he pleases, but still be successful, I think that was what was most appealing about that. I wouldn't say my journey was the same as his, but but yeah, it was that was exactly it. I wanted to be exactly like him. I wanted to be the family guy. I wanted to be the guy that, like, he portrayed himself to be. So
for sure. And speaking of your journey, has it been an easy one? Like, has it been easy for you to get to the point where you are successful today?
I don't think it's easy for anyone. They do say, like, in insurance, if you can last 5 years, it'll be a career for you. So I've made it past that point, but it's a lot of small commissions that add up to bigger numbers. And so early on is a struggle for anyone entering the insurance industry, because you need to acquire clients, and the clients you are acquiring, while they're paying premiums and they're paying bills that they feel like are large, you're getting 10% on average of that actual number. And so until you've acquired $1 million, $2 million in premium, you're really not even making $100,000, and you still have all the responsibilities of phone line, software, all the things that come with it, and then the responsibility of paying your own personal bills. So it's a struggle early on in this career, but if you can make it past that point, I feel like a lot of people would tell you that it's rewarding, and that there's a lot of cool things that are about it. It's frustrating, just like anything else that's regulated, though. So it's it's not all sunshine and rainbows over here, but yeah, it's been rewarding. I would say that definitely struggled. I restarted twice. I
Restarted?
Yeah, started new agencies, and started my agency at State Farm, and realized quickly, like, what I had built there was just chaos. And it wasn't lots of late payments and lots of just, like, service work. And I was really enjoying working with business owners, and the appetite there just wasn't there. And so then I became an independent agent, And it was just it was more commercial based, dealing with business owners. I was still doing auto and home insurance, but also helping them with their business, and that's really my bread and butter, where I like to spend time. It's conversations like this with business owners. It's just they get my struggles and I get their struggles, so that
Right.
helps. And then they have more to lose. Once you have a business, like, that is your revenue is your life. You value insurance more because you've seen real life situations most of the time that either you or your colleagues have gone through that make it important. And until you've had a situation like that, insurance is just the cheapest that I can get, until you've seen why I need it, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Now you got something to protect.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome, man. So how's business going for you today? What are you into today?
Business is good.
So you started over again. Did you have to do that again recently?
Yeah. So I just went through what I call my my entrepreneurial divorce. So I just got out of a partnership, and yeah, I learned a lot during it. So I never really say that things are failures, because everyone asks, like, do I consider that a failure? But I don't. I feel like it was a learning lesson, and there's costs to learning lessons.
Okay. Before you go into the challenges of that, can you walk me through what was it that made you decide to go into a partnership in the first place? Like, what drove that decision?
I think it's just recognizing my own weaknesses and trying to find someone who complimented me. My vision for where I want to be is, I think it may be in some ways outside of the skill set I have today. So I either have to learn those skill sets and be disciplined about implementing them, or I need to find a partner that already has those and can kind of take over a portion of the company and do those things well. And I think what was appealing is, those were the things, like those were the pieces that I felt like there was a puzzle piece whenever I made that decision. So.
Right. Okay. Having gone through a partnership and, going through the beginning of it, starting it going well, maybe at one point, and then deciding to exit, are you like against partnerships now? Like, has anything changed as far as your view on taking on business partners, or is it a good idea for people to take on a business partner after you have this experience?
I think partnerships are still a good idea. I just happened to have one that didn't work out for me. But, just like marriage can be bad or good, it's the same thing with partnerships. I have clients who have very large companies and they would not be able to run without the partners that are in them. And so, I've seen both sides. I've seen bad situations, and I've also seen where partnerships were the differentiator in getting to the next level. And
Right.
The person who may have started the company before the partnership would have never been able to build the company to where it is today by themselves. Because, you think about like the Elon Musk and the guys that are super talented, not everyone is that. There's a lot of people that I see, and you can just see they have the skill sets to maybe get a company to $1 million in revenue. But beyond that, it takes a whole nother set of skills. And if you've never done it before, it's a very painful process to get past that limit and learn all of those things. Whereas if you can get a partner who's already done it, has the knowledge of what needs to happen, like, it really will help, and you can still be operationally there to support those endeavors. So my partnership didn't end well, but like at the end of the day, it was a learning experience for me, and I see a ton of partnerships that are good. So I would still say they're good. You just need to do a really good job of knowing who that partner is, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Would there be anything that you did differently? Like, what are the lessons that came out of that?
Lessons. I would say due diligence should have been higher. We at the beginning of the partnership, because we had been friends for so long, we kind of went fast on merging and getting things together. The key factor that like kind of was the breaking point for us is that there was two partners, and so if we ever had a disagreement or didn't agree on going in the same direction, there was no tiebreaker. So if you are in a partnership where there's an even amount of partners, I would always suggest like getting a fractional CFO or someone that both of you have delegated as like, hey, if we can't figure this out, this person's the tiebreaker and they're going to make the decision to get this moving forward. So that way you're not stuck in an obstacle. And that was like something that we had put in our operating agreement that we were going to do, but we never went through on. So whenever we did, hit this impasse, there was no one there to help us out of it. And that's really where things got rough on that partnership. So if I learned anything, it would just be due diligence and making sure that the skill sets are there that complement yours, as well as, just organizational structure stuff that you don't know until you don't, you're in it and like learning the lesson. So, and we should have done better on that.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned earlier about like certain people having different skill sets. Do you think that business or being successful is a skill set or a talent?
I think it's kind of back to the art and the science. I think there's people who are really good at business because they're naturally risk takers. And I think you can learn a lot of skills in business, but you can't learn how to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. There's some people that are so scared and can't get past that, that when you look at like the most successful entrepreneurs, it's people who have put it all on the line. And I think that's what people love to hear about, is like this, rags to riches story. And like, you hear about like Elon Musk, like on SpaceX, gambling it all on that last launch. And you're like, dude, this guy is awesome because he like just launched it and it was fine. But like, that's a personality trait that I
probably would have went under.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a personality trait that I just, I recognize as a weakness of me, is that I'm super conservative. I'm perfect for insurance because people who buy lots of insurance are conservative people and are worried about the downside risk of what happens if. And the people who I envy or admire or want to aspire to be like are the ones who don't kind of ignore the downside risk and only think about the upside. And I think there's a happy medium to that, but I think that's the art or the characteristic that some people just innately don't have. And I think it's really hard. There's a lot of skills, like I said, you can learn in business and you can still be wildly successful without that piece. But if your vision is to be someone really large or to, really scale a company, I think you have to have someone who's just like, whatever, we're going to risk it all every single day. And, we're going to bet on us.
Yeah.
And I just follow a bunch of people like Alex Hormozy and some of these guys that are like that. And I just think that mindset is one that's really hard to develop. So what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's both. I think there's certain talents that people have that make them able, like just like basketball, right? Like anybody can learn the skill of basketball, right? But there's some people who are more naturally inept, right? Whether that's because they're tall or they have just certain skill sets that if you just give them a little bit of skill, they're going to be light years ahead of anybody. I think anybody can get into business, but I don't think anybody can be at the top, right? Like I
agree. Yeah.
Because again, there's just some people are just really, really good at managing and delegating people, right? That's a skill that can be developed, but the person who is naturally good at that and then adds skill on top of it will be light years ahead of the person who's not good at it and then develops the skill over time.
Yeah.
So that would be I think a lot of people, like, they hate on businesses and business owners because they think I could do this too.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's regarded as a talent enough.
Yeah.
Like, you don't compare yourself to an NBA player and you don't get mad at the money they make and things like that because you could never do that.
Yeah.
But with business ownership and things like that, I think they get a lot of hate because they think they can.
Yeah.
But we know everybody's not a good manager. You could put some people in those roles and it's gonna be a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a little bit of both. But there's levels, and I think my view of success has changed over time as well.
Mine too, sure.
What would you say your view of success was before versus now? Like when? Yeah, tell me about
it. You talk to 18-year-old Daniel, and he would have been like, "Dude, if you're not making $10 million a year, you're nobody."
You're a bum.
Yeah, you're just doing nothing with your life. But then you get experience and wisdom and realize how hard and how very few people actually get even above $1 million in revenue.
Almost nobody.
Probably even $500,000 in revenue.
Almost nobody.
Yeah, and it's a lot harder. And like you said, a talent to get there. and patience. It's like a learned skill to be patient with a process when you're so ready to have it now. And so, but my view of success now is more so of buying back my time. It's more so of like process improvement and creating an awesome experience for the customer that I don't have to handhold the entire way. And you know, for a long time I didn't know that if I even had the skill set to do that, because like you mentioned, like building a team is really difficult. It's really difficult to get.
I always say that business is so easy until people.
This is
Once
true.
you start peopling, dude.
Yeah. Because there's multiple
emotions
people,
and
they think they know stuff, and then they get offended, or like, you know, there's different things that like
they had a
you
bad
have to,
day.
yeah,
Like,
and they bring it into the team, and it's just like so many. It's like spinning plates once you have people, and you don't know when one's gonna fall, when one's gonna think that they're not paid enough, or they're not, you know, appreciated enough, or whatever. And at the end of the day, like you can build out a perfect process and have it running for one day, and then it all falls apart because someone in that process is like, we got a job offer somewhere else, or I'm, you know, gonna have a kid, I'm gonna stay home, whatever it is. And that's just one of the hardest parts. And if you ask anyone like in business like that, they all say it's the hardest part. Like, it's not, building a team is hard. It's not easy. And the guys that make it look easy must just have a ton of applicants and just have created like this funnel of people to get in and out. Because I think it's one of the most difficult things to do, to train someone on what you know after 15 years of being in an industry when they're in day one, like making it so digestible that like a day one person can understand the technicality of all of it all. It takes a truly like, and that's a skill set that I'm slowly learning. But it's not a natural talent of mine. I am not a great teacher, which makes it very hard for me to be a trainer. Other than watch me work. And like, you know, one of the things that we've been utilizing in our agency is just like Loom videos. Like literally all day long for 8 hours, just let my screen be recorded, and then I'll put digestible pieces into Claude and like say, hey, like map this out so that way we can see, does any of it turn into an SOP? Is any of what I did today something that can be digestible and easy for someone else to do? And then, you know, other things like, you know, just having certain people sit with me for 8 hours and watch me on a Zoom call, which cannot be easy and fun. That is not the ideal way to train someone, by the way. It's just the way that I have had to try to adapt. And if you ask any one of my team members, I'm constantly apologizing for how bad my training is.
I'm so
like,
sorry.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm so sorry that this isn't more organized, and I don't have a better way of showing you this other than until you get into it and like play with it yourself. Like, you have no, like, I can't teach you any other way. It's just it's a thing you have to do over and over and over again until you learn the bad ways and know the good ways. And I wish it was more straightforward than that, but there's just so many different scenarios when we're dealing with like 1,000 different people's lifestyles. It's not always going to be the same example or the same thing to show someone. So
that's definitely one of the things I learned when I had a team, is trying to figure out it is hard. How do I break this down to be so simple that anybody could learn it?
Yeah.
And that's definitely how you get the duplication and the growth. But it is not easy, especially again when you insert people, because some people pick up on things so easy. You're like, okay, great, this works.
Yeah.
And the next person is like, I have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. I think my brother-in-law actually, he has a quote that says, maybe he got this from the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu thing, but he always, when we were learning Jiu-Jitsu and he's teaching me Jiu-Jitsu, he says there's no such thing as bad students, only bad teachers. And I disagreed with him at first. But I like the mindset behind it of constantly learning how to be a better teacher. Is I might not be good enough to teach you how to do these things now, but I am going to take responsibility for that. That's on me as the teacher, which it sounds like you're doing in your business.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is my fault. This isn't you, right? But then you're starting to adapt, and you're starting to learn and try to figure out what is the next best way to teach you, to make it easier. So it sounds like you're doing great.
Yeah, I mean, I think version 1 was really bad, and version 2 is better. You know, obviously, it's always a constant pursuit of like the next best version of whatever we're dealing with. But You know, my day one employees, like they went through it, and they could tell you, like,
Same, bro.
you know, I'm in the hustle of it and, like, you know, selling stuff and talking to customers about claims and all this stuff. And in the middle of doing all of that, like, they're teamsing me like, hey, how do I do this one simple thing that you've given me today? And I'm just like sending them text messages back. And it was chaos. And like, and I think to your point about, like, it works with one person but it doesn't with another, like, you could hire a bunch of people that are okay with chaos and adapting, like my team members had to be, and they were good. But there was one that is probably one of my best team members today, but she was not comfortable doing stuff until she knew what she was doing. And so it's a confidence thing that you're building there too. Like, when someone's new to something, it's not just like, how quickly are they confident about it? Like, that speeds up the process that you feel like they're training, but then the confident ones will be the ones that make the errors in front of your customers. And then you're like, oh, well, is it better that they're confident or better that they're not? But it's all part of the process. And I feel like most of my clients are forgiving whenever we make mistakes and we learn from it. And the one thing that I always ask is, like, you know, if we're going to make a mistake, let's learn from it. If we make it a second time, we got to, like, that's the last time. Like, 3 strikes you're out kind of rule. Like, we got to figure this out. And make sure it doesn't continue to happen, because that's how you end up with customers that are like, this is the 3rd time that you've done this or whatever. I have, you know, not just in my business, but I hear it from everyone. This is how it's always is. It's the 4th time they've messed my order up. I'm never going there again, you know, whatever. And it's just like, yeah, you only get so many chances with a customer before they're like looking at other options for the confidence that they had with you at one point. So.
Listen, if I go to a restaurant and I get good wings the first time and bad wings the second time, I'll go a third. But if I get bad wings again, we're never coming back here.
Yeah, this place is dumb. We're out. We can't be here anymore. No, I mean, and I do feel like we have tolerance as a community, but not much. There's not much forgiveness there. So get a couple you know, freebies before you're losing it to the guy down the street. So
yeah. So your old view of success was, if you're not making 10 million a year, you're a bum.
Yeah.
What is it today? Like, what's the goal today?
The goal today is to, and this is going to seem really like cheesy, but it's like literally to feel like what I'm doing is improving the world in some way. And as far as financially goes, like, I want to get to a point where I'm only like doing stuff that doesn't achieve that goal, maybe 10 hours a week. Like, I want checks in the mail that, like, I want most of my time to be spent on stuff that I enjoy. And so, you know, if you ask younger version, it's like a money goal, which we all are in business. We need to make money. Like, I have bills, like my kids like to go to dance and do all sorts of stuff. So, that's always going to be an underlying thing.
If you got kids, you have to have money goals.
Yeah. So, I mean, the money goals are there, but like they used to be out of survival, like the only goal. But now, like, it's a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident. And so now it's more about the vision and like setting up like the system and the training and, like, you know, the scaling ability of the company. And it's a lot more fun to work operationally in the company than it is to chase a dollar figure. So my view of success would be like being able to leave my office for 2 weeks at a time and never look at my phone. It's been unachievable for 15 years. So I'm still trying to achieve it, but
if I have anything to do with it, it's not happening anytime soon. I'm kidding.
I mean, it's just a thing. But like it's hard to, like, and I've said this to someone recently and I can't remember who, but it's hard to replicate my experience. And so when your biggest client calls, do you have someone who's confident enough in their abilities to replace Daniel in that conversation? And that's what I'm working towards. But like, up for right now, most people do not feel comfortable doing that in my office. And so it becomes like, well, let me see what Daniel thinks or whatever. And then that becomes my wife upset that I'm distracted on the family vacation. And so it's like it's always a goal. It's always like that if I ever hit it, which I will, I shouldn't say if, when I hit it, that is whenever I feel successful. Like you've said successful on here. Me and you were joking in text, like, you know, I said, hey, take that out. But like, I think And maybe I won't actually, because I'm one of those that sets a
You're
goal
always
once I
pushing to
hit
the
it,
next one.
and then
Yeah.
it's just like, what's the next thing? And so maybe I won't, but I think at least I'll have a moment of like, this is what I've been working towards, and I finally did it.
Yeah.
So that's my version of success. What about you?
I think mine's a little different. I don't know that you can have a version of success that doesn't include money of some sort. So my view of success is if you can take care of your base level needs, you're successful.
Okay.
Period. And then beyond that, it's how successful are you? Right?
I like that.
So like it's like what's the gap?
Feels achievable too. I like.
I mean, if you're working a job for 40 grand a year and all your needs are taken care of, you're, in my eyes, you're successful.
Yeah.
You are successful in life.
I should have that viewpoint. I like that.
And then it's like, well, okay, now what level of success do I want to hit?
Yeah.
That's the first goal, I think, is just being able to cover your stuff, your rent, your mortgage, your car insurance, all these things, and not be behind.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, now I can get an emergency fund, and then I can not be one emergency away from being behind.
Yeah.
That would be the next level.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now what level of income can I have? And I pay attention more to the gap, because it's like if you're making $1 million a year, but you have $1.1 million in expenses, I don't envy you.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
I would rather be making $250,000 and have $50,000 in expenses.
Yeah.
So I pay attention beyond that. How much gap can I have in my income? Which I think just allows me to have that time freedom that I want to have so much more peace of mind. Because in my head, I'm like, the more peace I can have in my life now, the better.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what my vision is, or what I was alluding to being that. But like, I like from the mental stability of it, I like the fact that you viewed yourself as successful as soon as you covered your base thing. I feel like I didn't feel like I was successful until I made a certain amount of money, and it was well beyond what and so for a lot of years I was frustrated as a business owner just because of my own mental things I was going through about what success was or where I was compared to where I thought I should be. But if there's a lot of other entrepreneurs listening to this, I would definitely, I think they should take a page out of that book of hey, if you're covering your base and you don't have to work for someone else, bro, you're successful. That's pretty good.
I say even if you do have to work for somebody else.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. I'm not the one who's going to demonize working for somebody else. I think there's nothing wrong with it. There can only be so many business owners.
That's true. Yeah.
So if you're happy with what you're doing, I would say maybe you're happy with what you're doing, even if you're not, but you're able to cover your stuff and take care of yourself and your family, you're successful.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you need to go on 2 vacations or 3 vacations or take a month off. I don't care about all that's extra.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I want that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is the thing you need to hit in order to consider yourself successful.
The Mendoza line.
Yeah, this is the line. Be able to take care of all your bills, all your stuff, and be okay. And then beyond that is what level of success. I'm in the building. Yeah. Now what level am I getting to?
Yeah.
That would be how I view it.
That's cool.
And because I know people who make way more money who are way more stressed than me around money.
Yeah.
I'll take mine.
Yeah. Well, I wish you would have had that conversation with me early on in my career, because maybe I would have changed mine. But yeah, I suffered in silence for multiple years, thinking that I wasn't going and it was never coming and all that kind of stuff. And then, once it's it's so funny, the money thing to me, I think the reason I realized that's not my ultimate goal is I want to achieve certain financial things, but I feel every time I achieved the goal in my head, financially, it just created another goal, and the spending just went up, and it's just
100%.
It just followed. It didn't enhance my life that much. Yes, I'm going on family trips, and from outside in, people think we're living the dream over here, but we still have struggles. We still have times where the roof leaks and we got to fix that. I mean, it's not sunshine and rainbows just because you're making more money. And, when there is more money, there's more, one of the things that I've been trying to control is just this idea that I have to, I guess, materialize that money. Like, I got to go on more trips because I'm making more money, or now I can go on these things. And like, you know, and you see these guys that like end up with, you know, high-end cars and mansions and all these other things, which is fine. Like, I don't demonize that at all. Like, I mean, I admire that. I'm like, dude, like some of my clients have those, and I'm like, bro, that's sick. That's a sick car. But I don't have any like thing in me that is like, oh, I gotta have a Ferrari, or I'm like, that's my goal. Like, not even that I'm a loser. It's just like that. I wish I had more of that, just so that way I would, you know, have this push a little bit more. But yeah, man, I'm just you know, if I always joke, I was like, hey, if my wife ever leaves, like, I'm gonna be the guy down by the river in the van with like the Starlink on the roof. Like, I don't want material stuff at all. That's not what does it for me. The trips do. I love, my wife likes to travel. I love trips. I love, you know, I love that. I don't like getting there, but I like being there. I don't like the part of getting there, but I like being there. So I mean,
that's one business that could really do a good job of going through their process and figuring out their customer experience.
Yeah, it's I mean, even road trips, I don't like traffic. I don't like going and dealing with TSA and all the stuff there. But it is what it is. Like, those are inconvenience of life and a blessing. So it's like, you know, I'm not going to complain about the blessing that I'm getting ready to go on a 2-week vacation somewhere while someone else is like having to work a job and do all the stuff that they, you know, in lieu of that. So it's like,
nobody's gonna feel sorry for you.
Yeah, and I don't feel sorry for myself. I just, you know, I think it's natural to complain versus like be grateful. And so I've, you know, really made a conscious effort about being like, okay, well, this obstacle is actually an opportunity, and trying to change my mindset about that. But again, 5 years ago, different Daniel, different mindset, different everything. So
yeah, I like that, man. Success is so different for so many people, man. All right, brother. So insurance is often treated like a commodity, right?
Yeah.
Where everybody's looking for the cheapest price. How do you keep your customers from seeing you as simply another price quote?
To some extent, it's impossible to do that, but I think what we do a pretty good job about is like explaining why our coverages and things are where they're at. So that way people understand if it is higher, like why it's higher. You know, a lot of people, and, you know, I deal with it almost every day where, you know, I just got a rate increase. I need to, you know, lower my costs. They just want to get back to where their costs were, and try to keep them stable. Whereas, like, you know, whenever the market is saying, hey, you should be paying more, like, there's nothing you can really do about it. So it is a tough conversation to have, but I do feel like we focus more on expertise and focused on clientele that value having an expert versus just a quoting tool, because we can be that. And we have tools on our website that you can quote yourself. You can do all these things. Like, you can do it all on your own if you wanted to.
What's the website?
mypolicyplug.com.
Perfect.
But like, from the standpoint of everything, like, you know, I think what differentiates us is when we come in and say, whenever someone has an idea, and I'm going to use this as an example because I just did this food truck not too long ago, but the food truck guy in the industry, they're known for using personal vehicles to tow their commercial food truck. Well, they don't realize that as soon as they do that, neither carrier is protecting them. So like, the guy that's covering the food trailer is like, hey, you know, if it's not towed by a commercial vehicle, no coverage. And the personal lines carrier is like, hey, if you're using it for business, no coverage. And so we have this like slew of people who have thought that they've kind of gamed the system into, well, I'm getting away with like no coverage. Well, it's because you haven't had a claim yet. Like, you know, that's the real reason like you're doing this. But it's taking it one step further with a client who thinks that that's okay, and just saying, hey, you know, I'm letting you know the risks, no judgment, whatever way you go. Like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, you know, that my way is the only way, but I'm telling you and I'll outline it in the policy where it says these are excluded, and I'll look at their other policy and say, this is where it's an exclusion, so they can see it for themselves. And I think just taking that extra 5 minutes with someone, you know, gives them the confidence that they have the right person versus the guy that's just like, oh, who cares, dude? You're not having a claim. It's the cheapest price. Let's go. Like that. No one wants the car dealer of, you know, insurance over here. They want the confidence that if they need it, that it's the right. And then like, secondary consideration is always like, I want the right thing, but I still want the cheapest right thing. So,
Right.
I think a lot of,
I absolutely do.
yeah. I mean, I think everyone wants the cheapest right thing. Like, I mean, I don't think that's wrong necessarily. Like if, you can get an iPhone for $1,000 or $800, if it's both like the same iPhone 17, I think anyone's going to be like, yeah, I want the $800 one. Like, I think it's very logical to do that. And I don't discount people from being well-researched and like looking around. It's whenever they're cutting coverage or putting themselves in a knowingly risky place that like I have, a moment of like, hey, let's slow down and just consider what this means. Like if you can't afford the insurance, you can't afford the claim. If you can't afford $1,000 for insurance, you definitely can't afford a $10,000 claim. So let's like figure out, if it's, if we're talking costs, like what's the least amount of costs here?
Right.
Especially being in Vegas with things disappearing all the time and getting stolen.
They tend to do that here.
Yeah. Sometimes they grow legs and like, I don't know where that went. So,
okay. What made you want to be that type of agent versus somebody who just writes whatever policy or, hey, I'll just get you the cheapest rate. I know that like I used to be that client, right? Where I'm like, I don't care. Just put 25, give me $15,000 in coverage if somebody gets in an accident. I don't care. Just make sure my payment is as low as possible.
Yeah.
But what made you want to be somebody who's like not willing to undercover versus, I don't know, most agents? Do they do that?
Well, I'm going to kind of contradict what you just said a little bit. But,
okay.
So I had phases and evolution to my agency. So whenever I was at State Farm, I was just a quoting tool. I was like, hey, anyone and everyone's my client. You want state minimums, don't care. But I found out that through great conversations, I enjoyed my job more whenever people cared. And so then whenever I went into my second agency, I did focus on people who cared, and I was more like, well, if you don't care, like you're not my client, and a little bit more strict. Now I've kind of merged the two. I'm like, hey, if you don't care, that's fine. You could still be a great person, great client, and that's fine, but you're going to sign all these disclosures saying that I told you needed more coverage and that you're protecting me now from anything that's not covered by your decisions. And so we've just kind of implemented this hybrid of like, I'll sell you what you want, but only after you acknowledge that I told you that like there was risk in what you decide.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
So that's what I've decided to do, and that's what we do. But at the end of the day, like we are trying to get people to understand why higher coverages or why different coverages that they haven't purchased in the past might be considerable. And I think where you're at, where you said I was the price guy or whatever, I think there's evolutions to it. Whenever I was a teenager and I was coming out or I was a first-time home buyer, like, bro, money's tight. Like I was, that way. I was strapped. I wasn't buying 250, 500 coverages because that was triple what I could afford. And so I think you have evolutions, but I think a good agent is one who's checking in at those evolutions and saying, hey, now that you've got rid of that car payment, like we should really have a consideration or a talk about, where you're spending that extra money. And for an extra $30 a month, we can actually have closer to what we need. And it's an evolution of the conversation, and it's not all at once. And I coach all of my staff to that too. I'm like, okay, well, we know that this person, based on the fact that they drive a Porsche, they have a mansion, everything, should not have state minimum coverages. But you can't take them from state minimum coverages to 250, 500 and think that they're not going to be shocked by that. It's like, hey, tell them like, hey, let's double it. Let's go from 2,550 to 5,100. One baby step, $20 a month more, and someone with a Porsche or a mansion can afford that.
Hopefully.
And then like, I mean, it comes back to like $1 million in,
Exactly.
million five out. But it's like, sometimes people are living like that. But like, it's just education, information, and digesting it in a way that like the common person actually can do that. And you got to put yourself in their spot. Like if I didn't know anything about insurance, I would be reacting the way that 100% of all of our customers do. Like they want to spend the least for the right amount of coverage. To them, so if they've never had a claim, state minimum is the right amount. Like it's fine. But until you have a claim, I mean, the average claim in Vegas right now is $130,000. So technically anyone less than 100, 300 coverages is underinsured. But you might not ever see a claim. It's the gamble. I'm not here to tell people that like what they should have as much as I am in coaching them so they can make the right decision.
I think that's good. It sounds like you have like, yes, this is sales, right? Like sales is like sitting down, educating, all these things, but it sounds like you have sales and service pretty nicely woven in together. Whereas like one of the questions I like to ask when I'm coaching somebody is, if you were really serving your customers best as possible, like what would it be that you recommended? It sounds like you have a really good balance with that. You train your team on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I try. I mean, I think you get team members that maybe sometimes have bad habits or have other things going on, so you try to do the best you can to break through those. But yeah, I mean, I think you should always take a consultative approach to things, because it's like that's whenever that trust and everything is built, and it doesn't feel like a sales process anymore. It becomes the expert thing. And in their mind, they're like, this guy feels different. It doesn't feel like he's pressuring me to go one way or the other, or he's like manipulating my thoughts. It's like, hey, you should consider, if this is important to you, like consider these things. And I feel like that, and it is a sales process. I mean, it is checking in and saying, hey, is this important to you or not? Like it's not shoving it down their throat like a sales process might feel sometimes, but it's like, hey, I check in with all my clients, especially partnerships, about life insurance and other things that like they have never asked me about. But it's just like, hey, I see this in your file. It might be an issue. Is it important to you? No, it's not. Okay, I'm gonna notate that we talked about it and like move on. And I don't know. I feel like maybe it is kind of an art like that I've developed, but I hope that my staff is coming across that same way too. And better training would help them if I could put the program together.
Where'd you learn that? What inspired you to be that way versus what I think most people would consider salespeople to be? This negative feeling you get, door-to-door sales, like you're trying to sell me something I don't want type of feeling. Like what inspired you to be that way versus somebody who just pushes product?
I mean, I just recognizing that there's a lot of that in the industry and not wanting to be affiliated with that. I mean, the first kind of viewpoint of someone who's in insurance is, oh, you just sling policies, you're like, a salesperson. And so it's trying to differentiate a little bit, but I think it also stems from like having a single mom situation and watching my mom be kind of taken advantage by people in the finance and insurance industry. And like, the whole reason I got into this industry was inspired by the father figure I had at the time. But at the same time, it was like, I want to be different. I want to help people like my mom, not like hurt people like my mom. And so I think there's a lot of things that like kind of looped in, but it's also just, it feels better to me. Like I would rather you say no and move on to the next person than to sit here and try to shove it down you and use all these sales tactics on you that we kind of see online and all that stuff. It's like, I don't get me wrong. I am persistent and consistent. I'm just like not in a pushy way. You're still like, if you say no to me on something in the first initial onboarding, like I'm definitely coming back to you at some point in time and saying, hey, we had a conversation. You said no to this, but life changes. And I want to make sure that like you have the right thing. Are you interested in this conversation again? If you say no again, I'll document it and move on. And a couple of years later, you probably hear from me again on it, So It's like, it's just consistency. And
I always use you as an example of, I don't know if you knew this, but I always use you as an example of somebody who's really good at networking and relationships in business. Because we met at a networking group and like had lunch shortly after that, right?
Yeah.
My wife, I started using her insurance agent that she was very loyal to.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really care.
It took years. Ashley, if you're watching this, it took years.
Years my boy followed up. But it's also one of the reasons we chose to go with you, because you were consistent and persistent, not in a pushy way of like, hey, do you guys need insurance? And like, there was never any trying to sell me on coming with you. There was never any guilt tripping that I'm not using you, even though we're starting to develop like a relationship and a friendship, right? It was just showing up. It was, oh, I'm going to post you and share your video on social media, even though I'm getting nothing from this, So I always use you as an example for what to do in business when you're trying to network with people. Because I remember I had another experience with an insurance agent from networking. Went to go meet up with him for lunch. We set a date. And then he messaged me. He's like, so what type of insurance are you interested in? I was like, I'm not. Right? Like, I just wanted to get to know you better and, you know, maybe see who your ideal client is, things like that. And he's like, oh, I don't have time for that. I was like,
yikes.
Okay, brother. I will never send you business.
Yeah.
Right. And I think even though I wasn't your client, I think I still referred you people because I did like you and I did trust you as an insurance agent. We just weren't using you yet.
Yeah.
And so I referred you to people even before I was a client. Obviously we continue to do that now.
It goes back to being the expert versus the sales guy. I mean, I turn away just as many people as I have, and I'm not turning them away because I don't want their business. I'm turning them away because I know there's a better solution than I can provide. You know, so in some situations, I'm like, hey, you know, you should go here for at least 6 to 12 months and then come back and then we'll have a better solution than what that has. But they have the better option right now. And it's funny. So many people who aren't utilizing me for insurance do send me their friends and family because they know that every time I'm just looking to do the right thing because it comes back in tenfold. Like,
yeah, I wish. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I wish business owners understood this and salespeople understood this.
Yeah.
I wish, bro. Because so many people are after that, like, quick buck. Let me get as much money as I can right now out of every person that I meet. Versus the long term. I think you have a much more of a long term thinking approach to sales and business where, yeah, let me make sure I do the right thing for you right now, no matter what. And the payoff of that is huge for everybody who does it. They end up building a stronger business and they're in business longer. They have a better reputation. They're getting referrals like crazy. That you have to be getting mad referrals.
Yeah, I mean, we stay busy. I mean, I do SEO and some ads and stuff, but the majority of our stuff is just repeat business from clients that are referring, lenders, real estate agents, business brokers. And if you have consistency and they know you're doing the right work and that they can trust that you're not going to try to do something shady to their client, that builds that trust and rapport. And I'm sorry you had insurance agent do what you did, but it's kind of, it kind of goes back to just like, you can't, like there was a motto that, and I can't remember who said it. It was probably Zig Ziglar or something, but you can't make withdrawals until you made deposits, like in a bank account. And so that's why I look at like relationships. It's like whenever I'm building them, like I'm depositing in these people. I'm not going to ask for withdrawals, but out of like making enough deposits, they're naturally going to be like, dude, why is this guy so nice to me? Like, why is he keep doing these things for me? And it could be something as simple as sharing a video or, doing whatever, giving kudos to someone. But it is part of building relationships and trust is like being different than anyone else. And if you are showing up while everyone else that they're already using isn't, like eventually that is going to be recognized. And I just have always done that. It's not easy though, to keep all those plates spinning and like keep in front of that. But, especially good people, the guy that own like, Oscar and you and, Nate, these guys that we, just hang out with, like even before you guys were my clients, like I just wanted to hang out with you guys because I thought you were cool. And like, it's like, I wanted to help you because I could tell that you guys were good people. And those are the ones that I gravitate to the most and want to, even despite if there's anything in it for me, help the most because that's just who I am and my given nature. But also it's just like, good people like that, like need to be rewarded for those, like, for those efforts. Otherwise, like as a community, we're all just going to hate each other. Like you gotta keep rewarding the good in the world. And so that's kind of how I look at it, my mission. To reward the good.
I love that, dude. I had one insurance guy. I can't remember if we were using you at this point or if I was still with the other guy. I think we were using you at this point, but we were going to go to him for our health insurance and get a quote. I think I had like home, auto, all that stuff, business with you at this point. And, so we're getting a quote from him in person and he's like, do you have your car insurance with us on like your home? And we're like, no, we use another guy. He was like, what the frick, guys? Are you serious? I was like, all right, so we're not going to get health insurance with you either. Like, it was so mad. But like, I imagine if I came to you, like, I just know for a fact if I came to you with that, like, you're like, great. You would have just served me well through that process, and then just been there until it was time. And that's pretty much what you did.
I think it got, I mean, what do they call the feast and famine or whatever? The guys that like have this like mentality that they need every single piece of business. I just never have gotten that, because like I would rather have someone who has one line of business with me, who's a good person and has the potential of doing more business in the future if I just do the right things, than to feel like I need it all at once. And a lot of my accounts start with one line. Like most agents, there's a lot of agents, if you don't bring the package, like bring everything at once, they will not quote you at all. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I mean, yes, it's better for retention and all these statistics around my business if I get more than one line. But like at the end of the day, like, you know, they're always going to like trust you with the least hanging fruit. They're like, oh, well, this policy sucks.
Yeah,
so
sometimes it's a test. Let me see how well you do with this before. I'm not moving all my stuff over here. I don't even really know you yet.
Well, especially in high net worth or people who have large businesses, like they're gonna give you the little guy first. They're not gonna give you like the whole house. They're gonna be like, hey, test this out, see how it is. And I take it as that, and I treat it as if they're giving me the entire account. Like I want them to get experience what it would be like working with me, regardless if it's a small account or a big account. So
people are so used to like subpar, you know, below average service.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes people show up so good in the beginning, and then once they get the business, they fall off.
Yeah.
And so like I said, a lot of times it's just a test to see, okay, are you going to serve me well with this? And if you do a really good job, then I'll happily give you my business, give you referrals. Do you have like an intentional referral process or referral program, or is this just something that happens natural for you?
Yeah, I mean, we give it effort. We definitely have a follow-up process with our referral partners. We could do better about asking for referrals from our own clients, you know, sending out a newsletter or something that just says, hey, you know, reminder, we work off referrals if anyone has come to mind in a conversation this month, something of that nature. We don't do a good enough job of that, but there's lenders and real estate agents and business brokers in our network and even outside of Vegas that are sending us tons of business and tons of opportunities because of, you know, the constant contact that we have, the communication style we have, the you know, again, kind of going back to having a bad experience with one and then having, you know, I'll call it slightly better experience with another. I definitely think in our service process, there's still a lot to be improved. So like, I don't want to, although all of my clients give us kudos about service, you can look at our Google reviews, all that stuff. I still feel like there's a lot that we could do better. So,
there's always something.
Yeah, there's always something to improve. And I'm actually improving a process right now that might actually hurt that. I don't know. So many people are used to texting me directly, and it's caused issues with not only the team, I'm the bottleneck in my whole system. And so I'm right now retraining clients, like, you know, how to use our ticketing system and how to like forward emails that used to come to me to the right ticketing system. And some people are okay with it, and some people are like, well, if you're not my guy, like, you know, I'm out. And it's not that I'm not their guy, it's that like if the guy is out of the office, like, bro, I want you to get service from someone else. So it's like, you know, I don't want you to sit here, but I'm constantly trying to improve the process. We even have a ticket timer on there. Like my goal is to have a ticket done every 10 minutes. Right now we're slightly higher than that.
What are you? 45?
No, it's higher. Because sometimes like it's calculating based off of days of waiting for something from the client or whatever, but I think it's like 90 hours right now, so it's way high. I'd like to get it under an hour. I would say most things are under 10 minutes. Like you request an ID card or a certificate of insurance, my team's pretty fast, but
I think there's got to be some things that are just take time. You're waiting on information.
But they shouldn't. Like there's some things that like
though.
The underwriter should get back to me quicker, the service team should respond quicker to, and so I'm working through a process of like, how do I get these other teams we rely on to prioritize us and get a better customer experience? Because, you know, some clients call you from the DMV and they're like, hey, I need something, and you're like, well, I can do most things, but this requires an approval and I can't get it to you right now. And then they're upset with you because like you don't have the power all the time to do certain things. But so we're just trying to work on that. But like you said, everything can be improved. We're actually down 25% from where we started. So
I think some of that is probably just resetting customer expectations too.
Yeah.
Like if you know that's a thing, right? What can we do to minimize that this will even happen in the future? Like we know we get a lot of requests for this thing at the DMV. Let's be upfront about how much time we actually need to get somebody that.
Yeah.
Or let's get that in place for you now because we know maybe one day you're going to need it.
Yeah.
So let's do the XYZ, to try to reduce this friction point in our process that does happen semi-regularly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just resetting expectations. Like this is what's possible. This is what's not.
Well, you have to evolve too, and you have to reset expectations. When you're small and you're the guy and everything can come through you, it's fine. But when you have a team and you have thousands of people to serve, it's like, I can't be the guy anymore. Otherwise, you're never going to get the service you want. I get 92 text messages a day. Like, I mean, I can't be everything. And then also like, hey, this guy needs a break every once in a while. So if I'm on a break, are you going to wait 2 weeks until like I get back, or like what's going to happen then? So it is kind of resetting expectations, and I do try to make myself available and be at least the one that replies to the text message and then creates the service ticket if I'm available, things like that. But there's situations where I just don't have internet or I don't have the ability because I'm out of town. And so I've had some backlash from larger clients who are used to me hand holding a little bit more than I have been. And I think it'll take time for them to trust that the people that I'm delegating to are just as capable as me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be delegating to them, and it's just a process. And I think that's where it comes back to being patient. There's a lot of, I'm not a patient person, but I know that like whenever I teach someone something, they're not going to get it the first time. They need like 10, 15, 20 at bats at that, doing that task before that repetition has kicked in and like, I know how to do this piece of cake. Well, if they only see one thing once a year, like the next year when they do it, I can't be mad at them that they didn't do it right. It's like you've seen it twice. So, it's just, being patient with it. So.
Awesome. All right, brother, we're about to wrap up. If you could leave entrepreneurs, business owners with one piece of advice when it comes to growing a business or balancing business and family, what would it be?
Oh, growing a business. I would say before you start the business, sit down and know what your vision is for the business, because you can kind of create your model. I had someone hit me up today about like our process and how they don't do business with people that, have virtual assistants or anything like that. And I was just like, well, I know the model that I fit and I know we do a great job. And that's kind of intentional that like, you're not going to be able to serve everyone, and know who your client is and know what you're doing right away, and be okay with losing, the wrong client. Because like so early on, and I think out of desperation, like most business owners as they start, they just want anyone and anyone who has $1, like, let's do this.
It causes a lot of headaches.
And so not every client is a good client. And, it's okay to be that way for a little bit because out of like just necessity of getting your business off the ground. But as quickly as you can, I would revamp it towards your vision of what you want long term. Otherwise, I think you'll find yourself trapped by your own business. Because that's what I found at State Farm. I grew from 0 to 3.5 million in premium in 2 years, and I had all the clients that I didn't like to work with. And that was one of the reasons I left, is because I was just like miserable in my own business. And it felt easier to start over than it did to revamp what I had built. And so hindsight 2020, I was also an immature business owner. I probably should have just fixed what I had built, but but you make mistakes along the way, you learn it. And so I would just say vision and know what your process is like trying to go into it. Don't just be like most who run it like a hobby and then build the parachute while they're falling. Like, have some intention behind what you're starting.
Yeah, I think another definition of success that I heard was some people think that success is getting what they want, but it really might be wanting what you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brother, thank you so much for coming in today. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation is that lasting success isn't built by chasing the quickest sale or always being the cheapest. It's built by continuing to grow, doing the work other people aren't willing to do, and genuinely caring about the people you serve. So whether you're in insurance like Daniel or you're in other businesses, people remember how you treated them. They remember whether you listened, whether you followed through, or whether you were there when they truly needed you. When you combine excellence in relationships, service, and a commitment to becoming better, you create something that your competition cannot easily copy or take away. Brother, thank you for sharing your stories, the lessons you've learned, the principles that have helped you, and build that success in your business and in your life, man. Thank you so much for being here. If you need anything from Daniel, he's here in Las Vegas. Where else do you serve? What other states do you serve?
Arizona, Utah, Oregon, Tennessee, Kansas, Missouri. I think that's all of them.
A lot of states.
Yeah.
You can check him out at mypolicyplug.com or on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. I think it's official My Policy Plug on Instagram, or just call the office, 702-444-2367.
Awesome. Until next time, keep growing, keep serving, and keep living unreasonably. Thanks.